Alright, let's see. You guys hear me all right? Is my mic working? No.
Hello? Mine is. Hello?
Hello?
Mine's not working, but I can talk.
Make sure you're good, staff.
I am, but it won't lock in.
Just still.
They really turn it on. Now try.
Test. Is that better? Are we good?
Hello?
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We will start with Pledge of Allegiance by Clark, and then we will do opening ceremony by Heidi.
If everyone would like to stand and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for the opportunity we have to gather this evening. As fellow citizens, we are grateful for this city we live in, and we are grateful for the blessedness of the citizens of the United States. We are grateful for the opportunity we have to be involved and to help make decisions that are best for our community. And we are grateful again for where we live, and pray that we might all be open-minded and be kind, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right, Haley will do our roll call.
Commissioner Shelley Rowley.
Present.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Present.
Commissioner Megan.
Present.
Commissioner Justin Ray. Chairman Kevin Holt.
Here.
Councilmember Gary Anderson.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. We have our public comment section. This is anything that's not on the agenda tonight. If any of you guys have 3 minutes you'd like to share some sort of comment or thoughts.
Yeah, we're about the pool ordinance. Can we say something now? Or are we allowed to bring that?
We will get there shortly, so
we'll be allowed to speak now?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. But if you have something non-pool related, this is your moment.
Chickens?
No, chickens are coming up too, so we will get to that. All right, we'll go ahead then. The next item is to review and approve the planning commission meetings from the August 27th meeting. I wasn't there, so I don't have any feedback.
I saw yours.
Okay, yeah. Have me down as chairman. Sorry about that.
You probably would do a better job than me.
No, I don't think so.
Do not put that
That's right.
on. Remove it.
I didn't see anything else that stood out to me.
On a motion. Well, that's your job.
Yeah, any other comments? Okay, so we'll go ahead. Let's. I will entertain a motion if anyone would like to move to approve.
I'll motion to approve the minutes from the August 27th meeting.
Any second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We can move forward then to our next item. We're making good progress here. Okay, so now is our moment of glory for the pool ordinance discussion. So I don't know that I saw any files come through on that one. I mean, I know there was some discussion 2 times ago about we were going to take a look at some of the surrounding areas and some of their ordinances. Okay, that was last.
He was gonna take a few numbers to the city council and unofficially and see, so before we.
So the planning commission asked that I talk with the city council, to see if they would even be willing to look at the changes in the pool ordinance again, since we just did this spring.
Okay.
They discussed it for a little bit, and they said that they would probably be willing to look at, possibly 5 feet, if it came back to them.
Okay. And so I think in general you guys came here, so if you'd like to share some additional thoughts, maybe just a couple minutes, if that'd be okay, if you want to approach the lectern, for lack of a better term.
Well, thank you, my name is Matt Hanson. I appreciate probably a famous job. But appreciate your service on that. I would just like this commission to consider the 5 foot as opposed to 8 feet. It's my reading of responsible law in this area is that a planning commission should move in favor of the use of land unless there really is an objective reason to not do it. Going to the city council, listening to their reasoning of why it was 8 feet, none of them were able to articulate why it was 8 feet, other than other cities have 8 feet. So I don't think that you can really compare lots in West Kaysville towards lots in Blue Heights. They're just different. The cities are different. And accordingly, I would like this planning commission to consider the 5 foot variance for a swimming pool. When you really think about all the things that you can do, I mean, you can do, you can fill your entire backyard with cement and put a basketball right against the fence. You can put tree houses right against the fence. Whatever the case is, but I think 5 feet is reasonable. I'm asking this committee to consider that.
Thank you. Please.
So I'm kind of like I live at 194 South River Way. Just on the corner of the Old Green. I've spoken before on this topic. It was brought up to the city council that they would consider 5 foot. And the comment was also made that they didn't feel like it was a very important ordinance to look at because it was just a single person that was bringing it forward. But if you look at the course of the year, a few people actually brought this forward to the city council, not just me. Mr. Hanson, he watched the city council 2 sessions ago when it was a subject, and on his own accord, so I didn't solicit anybody in the city or try to find anybody in the city that was trying to do a pool like I was and was unhappy with the ordinance, what it did to their lot. But I think that just goes to show in the past year, there are 3 people that have questioned the ordinance and put us on their lot. And the usability of the lot was through ordinance. And I think this is going to come up, especially considering the setbacks that we have in the rear, 25 feet, and the smaller lots that we're considering may have in the city that may have smaller setbacks in the rear than 25 in the 8 zone. I know it has a 20-foot setback, but so I think that this issue will come up, and I would just urge the commission to amend the ordinance to 5 feet. For once and for all residents in the city, but they do the idea of an objective rule was brought up by Councilman George Ray. Thanks, Aaron. By George Ray. I'm not sure how to write that into the ordinance or what I want to see as a resident in my condition. The only one that I could really hang my hat on after considering the International Spot Pool Code would be a PUB. That would be the governing objective rule of not encroaching into a PUB that are 5 feet in our city, unless I'm wrong about that.
Well, I'll say this about that. You can't build anything in a PUE, let's step back one step further. Anything you put in a PUE is subject to having that ripped out if that public utility easement needs to be. That's a shed, that's a tree, that's a fence, and that would go for a pool too. I don't think that you would be wise to put your pool in a PUD.
Because usually
You're
that's
risking, you're
That's the
risking.
rule for a 5-foot setback,
Yes.
is because PUDs are generally 5 feet from property line.
Well, I mean, they can be all over the place.
Okay.
I mean, we got 20-foot PUDs.
Yeah, so that may not be the rule, but I mean, the rule's already there, that would be sort of an implied rule that is.
I thought you were saying, should we stay out of PUDs? Yes.
No, I said
Yes.
yes, slide. I'm assuming he's asking for me.
Okay.
Well, it's my positive.
Yeah.
Anyway. But, anyway, I would advocate for 5 feet. It seems like that would be the setback rules that the council is most likely to consider. And whether it actually goes that way.
Now, I think the question for you, Tyler, is that, does that work for you? Because you indicated earlier that you needed 3 feet.
Yeah, I do. But I don't think that's very likely to pass, and I don't think that the commission, I don't know that I would ask the commission to amend the ordinance to 3, knowing the spirit of the discussion from the session that they were discussing. So, I would work with 5, which would just mean that, I would probably still go to my neighbor and ask for 2 feet, so I could get 3. For me, that's still enough, but it would also push my property into this, so I would have to set back, I would meet that code, but, if I didn't, we have to figure out whether or not we want to do a this narrow, then we do. But, that said, regardless of whether or not I can do it, I do think it's the best thing for the city, and I'm not, I think that, you know, the resident before me in April and Mr. Hanson, I think, just should go to show that that ordinance was citywide. You know, for me, it might maybe a deal breaker, maybe make us make a decision to not have a pool, but regardless, I would still say that the ordinance to amend.
Thank you. I appreciate both of your comments and that you guys came and brought those perspectives. I'm on board with 5 feet. In fact, when we first dealt with this 2 years ago, that was my proposal, was 5 feet, and I think it was the city council that pushed it out a little further, and then we came back a little. So what I'm saying, I was right. No, it's no, I think 5 feet is reasonable, and that was my proposal from the start. I think given the other terms that we included back in 2022 about slopes, about livable areas and dwelling spaces and landscaping and contours and stuff, I think some of the concerns are alleviated about being a little closer to the boundary line. So I am personally, I would vote for a 5 foot to the boundary line.
I think our discussion last week, we bounced back and forth between the 3 and the 5 a lot, and we were pretty much there on the 5, the 3 was split. And so I think if we can settle on 5, I don't know, were you on 5?
Yeah, I think I'm fine with that. I just thought 3 by the time backdate, you could be really
Right.
pushing on your property, but 5, you're not gonna backdate with whatever it's on. I don't see wrong.
And I think, Darren, you said kind of the average in our county is 5 to 10 feet. And so I feel pretty comfortable. I mean, I share some concerns about getting to like, where you're like 0 to 3. I think that gets a little closer than I'd be comfortable with, but 5 feet makes sense to me. So are we making a recommendation? What's our?
We would bring back.
So we'll have a little public hearing to change that ordinance. We can do that at our next meeting. I'll set everything up for that, so, all advertising, everything like that, we'll bring it back to our next planning commission in October.
Just make really small signs. Really small, so no one should-
One warning, I will be out of town on is it the 22nd?
22nd.
So I will be out of town, so just, you guys can check, make sure you have your
As long as we have a quorum,
Sure.
everybody else that wants her to be here.
I'm here, yeah.
I don't think this is gonna be real controversial.
It hasn't been the other times we've dealt with it. The first time it was a little bit more. I think there was that one
We
neighbor.
had a couple neighbors that were
Yeah.
very upset about it.
But since then, I haven't seen much issue with people pressing back on it. So.
So yeah, as long as there's a quorum, we'll set it up for
Cool.
that date. I'll send out an email just to make sure. We'll have a here for that planning commission, because I don't wanna go through the whole public hearing if nobody's here.
Yeah, no, we've done that before.
Yeah.
It's not ideal.
It's not a good idea, so.
Okay, all right. So, gentlemen, you're free to hang out. We're going to talk chickens, general plan, but if you're just here for the pools, I think we're wrapped up on that piece. So thank you.
But
for
if
your
Stephanie
time.
wants chickens, you can stay.
Chickens and pools go together really
Tell her I
well.
think she would be, make a killer chicken on
I am chicken.
it. Yeah.
Good to have you guys. We appreciate your insights. Okay, so our next item of business is to discuss the chickens in single-family residential zones, R110, R112. I saw kind of the updated application, I saw the updated ordinance. I made a couple of edits. Haley, did those show through for you? I couldn't tell if it was working.
Our plan on that was just, we're sending that to
Planning Commission?
the city
There
council.
was a.
Oh, sorry.
On the
Yeah.
Once we made the changes.
there was a lot of talk about the fee. Did you see there was a $25 fee on there?
Uh-huh.
And
But they can make the final call.
that's true.
Cool.
This gentleman on the councilman was like,
Yes.
did not want a fee.
But
Oh, interesting.
the city council can, I mean, you're the ones, right, they can do whatever they want with that. We're just saying, this is what we're recommending, you can do whatever you want.
So if this is what we want to recommend to send it with the changes, we would have recommended with those changes.
Aren't these ones that they looked over and they felt that the iffy things that?
This one has gone back and forth
Okay,
between the planning commission and the city council multiple times. This last time, I actually just took all the comments from the planning commission. And I did not take it, I didn't want to go to the city council, because I don't want to take something to them to say, wait, what about this change? Why didn't you?
yeah,
I want to go something that the planning commission has actually said, yes, here's our changes, this is our recommendation to the city council.
Okay. And my changes to the application were not substantive, it was just consistency level kind of thing. And then my only changes to the ordinance, proposed changes, was to kind of flesh out the permitting, to just so it matched a little bit with the application. So I don't think there's anything that should be too alarming or.
I mean, as far as the fee, can't we just say the city council gets to choose if there's a fee or not, or what it is?
I
are we
think-
supposed to make a
I
recommendation?
think we're supposed to make a recommendation.
Yeah, I would prefer if there's a recommendation from the planning commission of a fee, if that's what you
Say
think.
1 times 25, and if they throw a fit, then they.
And that's fine, and we'll put that on there, there's one time.
It's a one-time fee.
Let me throw something out along with that. And it doesn't mean I'm opposed to the fee, but we've got our zoning in this city is kind of different. We have the agricultural, we have the RS12, which this does not apply to. And in some places in the city, next door neighbors are in different zones. And so if we do this, this will not apply to the chicken owners on the RS12. But it will apply to their neighbors that are in R12. So it's a little inconsistent across the city that way. I guess I'm uncomfortable with inconsistencies.
The one remark I would have for that is this ordinance in and of itself is inconsistent because RS12 and ag, they can have many more chickens and I think the intent, and ultimately I don't care. The biggest thing for me is the permit and the fact that it's revocable. And that for me is the biggest thing. I like the idea that someone has to kind of take ownership through a fee. But you're right, you know, someone in my neighborhood would not have, like, we're RS 12 or whatever, we would not have to pay a fee, and so I get the concern there, but there's something nice about the psychological commitment that having to pay the fee and do the application does. But if there's heartburn with the planning commission and with most people about that, I'm more than happy to scrap that.
I don't really know how most people feel. It's just, like I said, it's the inconsistency.
Sure.
And we're not really in a position to go back and say, oh, let's change the RS 12 and require a permit on that.
That's when we'll get this room filled again. If we were to
Absolutely.
change that, that's when the pitchforks would be out.
Yes, but I think there are some cases in the RS 12 where a permit would
Oh, yeah.
help.
I have neighbors who in the past could have needed a permit and would have been very good.
Because you still think we get black if people are grandfathered into anyone. You know, we have to change the RS 12 ordinance to say you have to have it.
Yeah, and that will not go down. That's because that's what everyone thought in that first
Yes,
public
they
hearing.
thought,
They
yeah.
thought we were restricting their existing rights. Almost everyone who was complaining RS 12s, A1s. So I don't want to touch that. And granted, I live in RS 12, so that would impact me. I do not have chickens. My neighbors have chickens. And they actually do a good job taking care of their chickens, which is great. But yeah, so I am not, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter one way or the other for me about the fee. I think the fee is good because I think, again, it's a psychological step. Someone's like, I'm committing to the city. I'm committing that I'm going to take care of this. And hey, it's always nice to get a little extra revenue for the city. You have to take care of business.
I don't think the revenue is really going to be very
They
big,
can buy a couple burgers, you know, like it'll be good.
but, and I think we talked about this a little bit last time, Haley, and how difficult is it to manage a permit like this? And you would have to look at the zoning map.
There's a little more into it, because I'm checking zoning and checking that. Where it's not.
I think it's gonna be fairly difficult for the staff to stay on top of all that.
How many people are really planning to get chickens every year?
Nobody now,
Right
right?
now, they just do it. I mean, I would tell you your other option, and this is just my point of view. Do anything.
The issue is that the people that are gonna be in here, nobody's gonna come in and do anything. So now you're gonna be out there trying to enforce new laws on people, and it's hard to make them, it's hard to make it stick. Right now, all you gotta do is just go out there and say, you're causing a problem, you're not supposed to have these things. Now you gotta enforce all these new laws. Every time you pass a new law, it's just a challenge for a small city especially, to enforce those rules. And some people, like you've seen, they think that chickens, you know, that's just a given right.
As some people do.
I mean,
It's not, it doesn't mean you don't try.
I would say to send it to the city council and see, I mean, it's something we've talked about forever. I don't know if I love the idea of just scrapping it after talking about chickens for months on end.
Yeah, and again, my whole rationale.
They scrap it.
Yeah, my whole rationale has been there's the rule followers. The rule followers will not do chickens unless they have
Yeah.
the jurisdiction, the permission to do so. And for those folks, I think it'd be nice for them to have that assurance. Yeah, I think it's good to send forward. And personally, I had my few changes, and then let them do with it what they want.
I think the fact that you can revoke it
I like how.
is the key part of it.
Right.
Yeah,
Because if there's a problem, you can just say, you can't, you can't control what's going on, so you can't have it.
yeah. That's the only reason I like it. I mean, just because every ordinance and every law is because someone broke it. And so then someone had to make a law. Right? I mean, so that's how laws and ordinances get made, because someone, something else.
Yeah, that's why I have a profession.
Yeah,
People fight or did something done, and I get to do something about it.
yeah.
How do you, what's your thoughts on that?
I understand why you need a permit, and I think it's a great idea, but also I see the idea that if there are no teeth behind it, then it seems like a whole lot of work for maybe something that isn't enforceable, but I agree, yeah, sure, it's great to maybe to have a permit and have them pay and understand that there are rules, you know, that need to be followed. So.
You missed all the really good chicken meetings.
Oh, yeah.
Party.
The chicken council, the chicken public hearing, you missed a lot of good stuff.
Chicken SARS.
I made a lot of new friends from all those chicken meetings there, so.
I mean, I think in Salt Lake, there's definitely an ordinance, and it's probably not that enforceable either, but you have to be, I can't remember what it is, but 50 feet away from a dwelling, and, you know, have to have specific requirements for their feet and everything, so. I doubt anybody ever gets their chickens revoked, but it's there, right? So, it's not a bad idea.
And I mean, again, with any rule, the hope is always like you have enough rule followers to like get a big enough group, and then the ones who aren't going to follow the rules, they're just not going to follow any rules. Right? I mean, that's the reality, right? People are going to do what they want to do, they're going to do what they want to do.
A lady in the city caught me off guard this week. She asked, why is there setbacks for homes? And
Okay.
and I kind of explained it, she said, but why are there even in the first place? And we've been doing that for so long that I think it's sometimes you lose sight of, why didn't we start doing that in the first place?
Why are we zoning?
And so,
My property.
yeah, that was just an interesting comment coming from her, and I was like, we've been doing that for a long time.
Occasionally, we need to do tours of cities that don't have some of these things, so people
And
know
then you're
why
like,
we have zoning,
oh.
why we have planning, and all this stuff. There's some nightmare scenarios out there,
When you go to places where they don't have it,
right?
it can be pretty
Whereas
shocking.
before there was any of that, and then
Sure.
I thought there
No,
was like a.
Now that I've said all these negative things about the permit, I want to say something positive about the permit.
Zoning originally got started because cities were burning, half the city was burning to the ground. And they said, we need rules.
Yeah.
So this doesn't happen.
That was the Berkeley
Yeah.
setbacks.
San Francisco burned, Chicago burned to the ground.
Everyone was just on top of it.
London and all kinds of cities.
Yeah.
Health, safety, and welfare.
We just went to Hawaii, and we've been over there before, but the chicken population in Hawaii is just expanding and expanding. And if we have the permit and people are following that, I think it's easier to either confiscate the chickens or somehow control them. In Hawaii, it's gotten to the point, and we ask people, why are they blooming so, I mean, nobody's harvesting the chickens anymore. And they said, well, Costco, you can buy one for $4.99 that's plucked, gutted, and cooked. And so they just roam everywhere. And we don't want that in our city.
We need a new turkey, but.
Right, Kevin,
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
my good friend.
As long as he's not stopping traffic.
There's a mascot turkey that did last year. Last year or the year before?
It's all urban legend. Has anyone seen him?
No.
He got hit by a car.
He got
He
hit.
confirmed, so it's a
Yeah.
confirmed kill.
Yeah, it was a confirmed kill.
Kevin got hit by a car with a city turkey.
That big.
Now we roll here.
So I think then,
That was very
do
sensitive.
we need to,
Make a motion.
So just make a motion to approve the chicken ordinance and application with changes.
Yeah, so I mean, does anyone want to take a look at the changes? There's really not anything substantive.
Can we blow it up a little more? I can't see that.
I read it yesterday, but is there anything about a fine? Maybe not so much confiscation.
It's
but
just like
there's-
your-
It is,
You read it yesterday.
it comes under the city nuisance ordinance, and under the nuisance ordinance, they can put a lien, right? On the property,
And that's not.
which is,
Oh, yeah.
it's probably not even happening, but like, have you guys used that before, the nuisance ordinance to lien a home?
Never had to.
Cause, it would be effective, I mean, your lender would get after you the moment they saw it on title. So like, you catch someone's attention pretty quickly with something like that. So, do I have a motion?
Oh, can I make one more comment?
Yeah.
Hayden, can you scroll to the top? I know we all understand this, but to somebody else reading it, not knowing the history, may not. This is notwithstanding the foregoing, this code shall not in any way limit the rights of residents living in A1 or RS12. Would it be of value to expand on that and say, because there are already animal ordinances in those zones?
I agree with you, Clark, that that's a problem. Let's say that people across on one side of the street's RS12 and this other side's R112, and these rules apply to people on one side of the street but not the other side. I just think that's another enforcement problem that you're gonna run into. Is like, what? These guys get to do whatever they want, but I've gotta live by these rules. That is a built-in
Don't we
enforcement
already have
problem.
existing rules?
Yeah.
I get the other thing, I just say, that's gonna be a challenge.
If we add that, does it make it more clear, Jeff? If we say something to the effect that, because there's rules already applying in those zones.
I mean, the way that reads to me, I mean, it sounds fine to me, is that it just says that this doesn't apply to the A1 and RS12. So these things don't apply to them. I think that's gonna be a reason for people to, if somebody has some angst about it, that's what they'll point at.
They
Why
will.
can they do it?
And then we'll point them to the statutes and say, you want that, go move
It's
across the
like-
street.
This is across the street.
Find it
Yeah,
section to
this is
allow
what
your
the public
public
asked
input.
for, they wanted additional rules.
But they won't be asking us, they'll be asking the people over here.
Yeah, they will.
That's all right.
Well, I motion that we send the chicken ordinance to the city council with these new minor changes for their approval.
And
Any second?
okay,
All right, all in favor? Aye.
I think we should move forward.
Okay, all right, so that is approved. We'll see what the planning commission has to say.
No, we are the planning commission.
Oh, gosh, I'm on. City council,
Yeah, I'm not that mean.
seriously, it's the end of the day, but, all right, our last item is the planning commission business is the areas for R16 zone in the general plan. I think the last two sessions, we've kind of talked a little bit about proposed areas in each of our areas of the city. I think you guys already had mine from July.
I couldn't get the map to open that she sent. That's
Oh,
when
really?
it kicked me out of my whole system.
Mine was struggling
It's
too.
not allowed anymore.
Mine came
So
up.
your email doesn't work, just go into the Teams, so it's either I moved it or renamed it, and it will still send an email.
Oh, yeah, I opened it through Teams and it came right up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Teams,
it might not
sometimes
work.
teams will do it, so.
Hey, will you send me those?
So, as you remember, in the last planning commission, they asked that, I go through and mark up a map with the areas, that we discussed. So those are the areas that I had. in my notes.
Are we looking at?
That are red. So. So we talked, we had this little area up here at 650 North, across from the condos, next to the LDS church, at the bottom of the orchards. And then there was a small spot over here on, Perry Drive area behind the church. It was recommended, that's the Butcher Orchard. So that road goes through. West side, on the very top of, Chad Edgington's property, or also down here on the bottom, was another area that was brought up, by the other districts down that side. Over on, Flowerwood, this is Ruben Gardner's property. I was recommending the front half, if he decides to build that property, maybe along the bottom corner, that's an opportunity to do it. In that area, over on Nichols Road, some open space over there was suggested. And then over here, once again, right here by, condos, Somerset across the street, open space here across the street. By the church. These ones are already zoned for commercial. And so, but that was some areas that were discussed in the meeting, so I marked those out, for the planning commission.
And then the area north, all that. Did we talk the subdivision?
Baptist church.
Yes.
Oh, from the, right here.
Well, that's
It's
about,
already zoned commercial
but then north of that, we talked about too, all
on the
that.
property.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
right
did
here.
talk about
That's right, we did.
So,
That's right
we
there. Yeah.
talked about
It's
that.
another opportunity to go there.
Be a good spot.
We talked about that long. If those people ever got together and mined that, it's a beautiful piece of property. But each one of them has different goals, and so.
But some of them are big enough, I mean,
I
a
thought
few
those were
acres,
really-
so you could put a, chunk of townhomes on there.
The ones on the north are kind of slivers.
Yeah, those ones wouldn't probably have enough width, right? They're pretty narrow. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell from that.
Darren, did you happen to total how many acres that represents?
I didn't go through and measure that.
It'd be interesting to see how many acres that is compared to what we've got left, the 50 some odd acres we've got left to develop.
So I think along with this, I had Haley send out the general plan for those that haven't seen our general plan, it was updated and stuff like that. These are items that, as we begin to go through this process, part of that process is putting things together that we can put to the public and have open houses and get that kind of input from the public on, these are some areas we looked at.
Can we talk about several of these in kind of some detail?
What's that?
Can we talk about some of them in some detail?
You bet, yeah, I think that's part of this is, why did we pick that area for number one? Because the public's gonna ask that, why did you pick my property? Or why did you say right here? And that's something as a planning commission and a staff, we need to have some justification on why we picked that area and why we didn't pick somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important to do that.
A couple of things to think about. When we talked about getting it closer to public transportation. And that's really hard in our city. I looked at Chad Edgington's property, we got that bit at the top, and we got the bit at the bottom. And I don't know how Chad feels about it. But I would move that bottom piece to the top, because it's not far from there over the park and ride lot, the buses come. But it's a long way from the bottom of that hill. That's one thought.
What is the metric we're trying to meet? Sorry, I had a lot of comments about this last time. but-
There's like state laws now that you have to do A, B, C, D, E, and we need like to make affordable housing.
Mhm.
So if
Is
you
there
can't,
a threshold that you have to meet, like?
so that you could, say, like you're trying.
Drew Heights, I will tell you, we'll never meet it.
5% of your.
Shelley, just as a rule of thumb, the threshold is, 80% of the county's median home price, which is roughly 400,000.
Oh, sorry, I'm just meaning land. Is there a threshold like?
Well, I'm just saying
acreage or percentage?
that the reason we were going down this road is to try and create more affordable housing opportunities. I'm saying the threshold is 400,000. We're never gonna meet that. The lots are selling for more than that,
Yeah,
not the finished product. And so we realize that we can't meet that threshold. So we've kind of taken on this term, more affordable.
Mhm.
More affordable. It's not a $2 million home, it's a $750,000 home. And that kind of goes back to what you're saying, Clark, about getting to the transit. Is the guy living in this home gonna be riding the train? I don't think so. I don't think he's taking the bus. He can, even for an $800,000 home, he can afford a car.
Or not, maybe all is going to go into that.
So I don't know, I do not think in any way, shape, or form, somebody living on a 6,000 square foot lot is down and destitute, and it's gonna somehow run down the city. They're not. These are people that have a slightly lower income than the guy that's building the $2 million house.
And it could also be someone who just wants to downsize, who's got all the money
It
in the
could be.
world, where it's like,
It
you
could
don't
be
want it
that.
all,
And
right?
it could
It's
be,
all the options.
what you hope is that it's somebody that is a younger family with some kids that brings some vitality.
Yes, that's like our goal, is
That's
to
what
make
we
sure
hope.
we get a mix of ages, and we don't just.
That's what you hope. But that's the threshold, Shelley, and so we've kind of just taken on this, let's do something. And that's where we've tried to go with it.
is there I think you were telling me that the state, is it the state that was looking?
Well, the state passed a law last year
They
that every city has to like
have some,
turn in and show
So we're on
A,
a
B, C,
plan,
D,
we have to
E,
show we
a
have a
plan.
plan to move forward. So this
This
year,
would
we're
be like our
presenting that we
plan.
did the internal ADUs. We have created a new general plan,
We created a zone.
a new zone, yeah, so if we're showing some good faith efforts, then we get a good pat on the head and we don't.
Isn't there
lose our
government money attached to it?
benefits.
No,
There's no money attached to it.
no.
Well,
What's the
but
ordinance the money
can't we
is
get
attached to?
yanked, can't we lose?
Well, so they have said that there is the possibility that if you're not complying or not doing anything, they'll take your B and C road funds.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a threat.
There's a threat.
But that hasn't been exercised against any city yet,
No.
correct?
No.
But we're just trying to show in good faith that we're doing
Yeah,
our
it's a
part
good
based
faith
on our
effort.
location.
And Shelley, this R16, there's nothing magical about that number. We just come up with that.
We just had like R18 and then we had like kind of.
R3, which is the true multifamily, and
So it's like nothing.
what we ran into is was it the Christensen property?
Yeah, a reason.
They were rezoning that one, asking for R3, and it was a bit of a split decision for us, because there was a lot of concern, people like, well, what's gonna stop them from putting up a high rise? And we said, well, we can put we can put different restrictions on the agreement, but people were very concerned. So we created this R16, so people didn't think we're trying to turn the entire city to Manhattan. And there we go. There you have our wonderful odyssey over the past
Yes.
couple months.
I would just say we have to show people, I think you have to have like transitional zones, and that's what an R16 is, so it's weird if we put an R16 in the middle of, it needs to be in an area where, a transition is happening.
Yeah.
Like a natural transition from larger to smaller lots, so it doesn't go.
Towards the wall and if she's talking.
Get on over to Clark,
Okay.
you got more energy than the rest of us.
and what is the timeline? Sorry, I think I said, we talked about
We have to do like a public open house in the whole,
in a specific time frame.
no.
No, so we met, we hope, Jeff and I did our report. I haven't heard anything back yet. know if you have, Jeff.
And neither have I.
So we put out a report for this year of, here's what our strategies were. This is what we accomplished in those strategies
In this year, but we're.
in this year. So we got another year
Okay.
to go, and nobody really, because we pretty much picked the 3 strategies that this city could do out of the 10 you had a choice of.
This is the only other thing I think we can do.
So this
that
is,
external ADUs, that's top of my priority list.
Oh, yeah.
and I want
What city was in the news?
and I'll fight that one because I don't like it.
You know,
What city was it, Centerville?
Oh, we already have internal, I am high on ADUs, I'm good on ADUs. but
Internal, I'll go 100%.
External, they just don't want the tiny houses on people's backyards.
So it's like Farmington, was it Farmington?
Someone recently just passed.
It was-
their
Or
external-
was it Centerville City that was looking at it?
Farmington did do something.
Yes.
It was just in the news this past week.
Well,
I don't know.
they didn't change what they said. They're doing ADUs as well. Farmington.
So
They
they were
didn't
building
change
that lot, and
anything
then
else.
to actually split the lot so that person owns it, but then they're saying, well, if that person sells it and then the right in it, so it's like.
There's, Mike, I will tell you, for Free City, I know we're off subject now. One thing that people are not looking at, Jeff and I've had this discussion many a times, is utilities. So Free City, 10 years ago, 14 years ago, no, probably 14 years ago, figured out calculations. This is how many houses we're gonna have in Free Heights. This is how these lots are being developed. This is what it's gonna take for water to serve these individuals.
And we ain't calculating.
And sewer.
And sewer and those kind of things.
And storm drains.
Storm drain. Now, I turn around and I have a single lot that we figured, and you can rent upstairs, downstairs. That needs sewer, and what have I just done to the utility system? Now I'm starting to overburden the utility system, and who pays for the upgrades and all that kind of stuff.
and all the roofs, increase more on.
All the new storm runoff, all that, so that, I get people say, hey, this is great, we make my mother-in-law live in the backyard, and I don't know why anybody want to, but she can live in the backyard, but that is a hit on your water system, it's a hit on your roads, it's a hit on those things, that you're not gonna get any more property tax, you're not gonna get any more of the things that you need to cover your costs. But nobody wants to look at that portion of it, they just want to go, oh, it's a modern house in the back, I can rent it for $1,000. Renting.
But they were talking about like splitting the actual
Now
property.
they're saying, well, let's just split the lot and cut it in half.
Yeah,
Now you're still doing the same thing there.
yeah,
Now you're just doubling what that lot was originally purposed for
Yeah.
and what you planned for many years ago. And I don't know any city that can go in and say, wow, I'm not gonna upgrade my sewer lines from this point to this point because of all the new increases. And then you gotta go to Central Davis and they say, we can't take it down here. So now you're doing that, you gotta invest in our system down here and replace all that. Who's gonna pay? That's my beef with it, but I'll shut up now.
makes
Sorry,
sense.
Clark.
That's a challenge. I would add to that, because we drive down Mountain Road. And I'm a little worried, with all these houses coming in, we're gonna have a lot of traffic here, we're gonna have a lot of traffic here. And that's gonna be a mess, because you've got a three-way road, a three-way road, and there'll be a three-way road, sure, there'll be a three-way road here. And possibly another one, that's, like a three-way intersection.
Well, Clark, the neighbors say those houses will be down on Mountain Road. They're just gonna come down.
That will
Hey.
be a traffic.
I missed that discussion.
Yeah, we weren't here for that, so we didn't hear it.
That's good.
I just had people tell me about it.
On this, if it were me doing that, I would put the higher density closer to the apartments behind these houses in this area, maybe a little across the bottom, rather than on the bottom. I think now that the sound wall's gone through, the houses on the bottom of these streets are kind of prime lots. Because it's really quiet. But if we're looking for property that could fall in this category, and I spent a lot of time looking at that, there's next to the pumping station that they're putting here on the corner of Green Road, there's a couple lots back in here. I think Casel City owns those.
It's for a future water tank that they're planning on building.
Is that for sure?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, you know, that would be a spot, it's next to the church. I
agree with you on that, that would be a good spot.
It would be a good spot. So anyway, I think I would turn that one up there. I kind of was hiding on this, putting this in the middle of all these houses. Probably looks a little odd, maybe putting that up on Mountain Road, well, then you have more traffic issues on Mountain Road. You go one way or the other, it's always an issue. And then, yeah, we talked about this here. The church, I know it's already a commercial, right? Churches in our world are going out of business, and that one, I think we'll have to treat it kind of like we treat this one. We're going to keep our eye on that. If that goes up, we'll consider that. Oh, and then I don't know what property this is.
It's right across from the baseball diamonds right there in Nichols Park.
Oh,
It backs the driving range and it's just right across from the baseball.
That's a great
Who owns
spot.
it? It's private owned.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, if you sell that, they might be developing it.
Let's see your face.
Basically, all that nickel's right up to the golf course.
Larkins, almost
Great
Larkins
spot.
is in that park.
Was that Larkins?
Would they ever do anything with that baseball field, the city?
As far as,
Well, it just is,
so we're redoing the whole thing right now.
oh, you are.
Yeah, so with 89 projects,
It kind of really.
Nichols
is
Road,
done,
or
okay.
Nichols Park really took
So,
it.
like, does anyone?
Because it took out all our water lines to it for
Yes.
irrigation, and we just couldn't get anything back in there, so.
Do they
Project was
give
almost over.
money to fix it all?
What's that?
Do they give the
We
city
got money to put things back together, but as far as
to really fix
actually
it?
fixing it.
Yeah.
Thanks, UDOT.
So I do worry about Mountain Road, all the development on Mountain Road, because of the traffic issues that are.
Next to, is that the Stake Center? What property is that? Just a home?
up north.
Who owns that on the east side of?
Yeah.
So the Manning's Orchard is part of that's the Manning Orchard.
I thought it was on the west side, it's on the east side?
They have a little chunk on the east side right next to the.
There's a house in the.
I guess like
There's a
that,
house in the middle of it right now. I will tell you, I know, they have been approached by Symphony Homes. But I
To do like an R18 type thing?
do a little PRUD or do something right there. But the individual that owns the home on the front part, which they would need to complete it.
Doesn't want to
It
sell.
wasn't people to sell, so it kind of.
I mean, it's hard to tell like acreage there, like if it's a lot of acreage, but if it's tiny, then that would be weird to make that R1.
Well-
But if it's, I just can't tell how many.
I think we ought to leave it like that. It's hard when you have two different property owners. Because they both have to agree.
But can we add the property north of the church to R16? This,
North of the church.
is it Presbyterian?
Oh,
Oh, the ag property there, yeah, we can put a line in there. I'm sorry, I didn't have that written down.
no, this piece like this is like one house on this
Yeah, there's
whole piece, which would be, I mean, that to me seemed like a.
like 4 houses there. There's houses that are back,
Well, on one of these, this biggest lot, there's just one house, they're back in.
Yeah,
the,
Do something right there, yeah.
there's plenty of acreage to do something nice there, and it seems like it wouldn't be out of place. Yes?
Yep.
This, I don't know, fill out, right? No? Like that, seems random. I don't remember that one. I just think if that's what you're gonna get pushed back on, is where it just feels like it's put in there and it's not like in a transition level. So, just leaving that alone.
I like transitional zones. I think those are good ideas. So that I think that's good planning to go from the larger lots to medium to smaller. And to do it along corridors.
I just think those are the ones that might get pushed back, but I could be totally wrong, maybe,
Well,
I could be totally wrong.
I think we can push back on every one of them, so.
You do?
If you say the word multifamily,
Yeah.
people will
But can't
swear.
we just say townhomes?
I mean,
That's really
Just,
what it is.
yeah.
Look what we already
Pretty
got.
much that's the NF word, it's multifamily, so.
There's some time to study this, right?
Yes, yes.
I feel like.
Yes. This is part of the process of this whole thing. That's why the general plan, was sent out to, so we take the opportunity to, as we go through the general plan. There's areas in the general plan we thought, hey, we might need to be changing some housing things and stuff like that. But it is the fact of going through and saying, here's some of our updates. And as we go through that and decide those updates, then we start presenting it to the public and have a couple open houses. We have a work session with the city council. So the planning commission and the city council will be on the same wavelengths as we go through this, I should say. And then, as we go through that process, this will be a process I don't think we'll finish up until late next spring as we go through this.
I don't think I've had enough time to fully, digest and understand, and I think I need to plot this out on a big piece of paper and look at it.
And
Drive around.
And we don't want to make a mistake on this, because it's really hard to go back.
Yeah.
If we give somebody a higher density and then we decide that doesn't really fit, we will really get a lot of flack taken away from.
Well, and my comments last time, I think, were, people spend millions of dollars trying to rezone to upzone so that they can put multifamily on. I'm not against density, I'm really, that's kind of, I think, where we are heading as a society. But, when you go into a city and it's time to assemble a parcel, a huge amount of money is spent assembling and upzoning and if that is what you want to see, then do it for free, right? But if you want to protect what we have, then
Be very particular.
yeah, don't just rezone all the open space to multifamily, because then the developers are like, oh, I don't have to rezone it, there's $1 million in the safe when I purchase this land, right?
And so just one thing too, the general plan won't rezone any of this, it does signal though that this is a place we would consider. Yeah. So they would be able to point to that, to your point, they would be able to point to that and say, hey, well, in the general plan, you guys said this is the prime spot, so we want to rezone.
And it's been rezoned. and-
Well, it
We're not
hasn't.
It hasn't.
We're not changing
Okay.
any.
So we don't change anything, right?
But it's friendly, right? It's friendly.
Yeah,
Like,
this is just saying-
Sure.
This is an opportunity, this is somewhere that we recognize that could have this. Now, that, they may come and say, no, I don't want any of that on any property I sold. I want it to all be 1 acre lots. Yeah, and that's what we would do. We would go with 1 acre lots, I guess, if that's what they really wanted.
They still have to come in and make the request for the rezone,
Yeah.
but then they would have exhibit A to say, oh, you guys said 10 years ago, this is a possibility. So, yeah, I definitely get what you're saying.
So I can't wrap my mind around it, it's.
Sure.
So I think I need more time to look at everything.
Darren, if we could have Jones identify
We had
the amount of acreage,
last year help us.
I could just do a little analysis to talk about,
We had the students
this
come
is
down to
the
Ballpark.
potential of how many homes you could have there,
And they came down and it
what
was
the
like-
impact of that would look like versus just if it went like a regular R112.
When they did it, they just didn't have this.
That might be valuable.
So it wasn't
Sure.
put into the plan.
I think
And I
that
like
was a
this in the
good
middle.
comment.
And then we decided to do this, so it wasn't having people come to rezone individual pieces.
Jeff said something I think is good.
Just saying that if we can identify the amount of acreage we've identified on this map, we could do like a little analysis and say, this would represent X amount of the property left to develop that could turn into X number of homes, and kind of compare that to what you would get, like, let's just say if it was like an R112.
Sure.
And so you can look at a side-by-side comparison about what kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I don't even know what it means.
One other place I would add in my area, the RS12 right next to Cherry Hill, I think it's a Lloyd's.
Yeah.
And that's already, that's on commercial.
The
Well, that little pocket is RS12.
Is ours well?
Yeah, you see, scroll over there, you can't see it because we're on camera. But it's just this little like pocket next to Cherry Hill that's yellow. A little further down.
And that's in the general plan?
Yeah, and on this thing.
Well,
It's so covered.
It's pretty in the camera.
But anyway, yeah, so it's just right there,
Is it
right?
right on Main Street where the two
Yeah,
homes
yeah,
are?
where it comes up on Main Street, I think that would be another perfect spot.
Okay, there's two homes right there, and
Yeah.
you're talking that little spot, okay.
I mean, you could create a little road there and have a little couple little towns there. There you go. That little pocket right there.
Well, the land next to it,
So everything back and around it is apple orchards, and then on the other side is, what is that called? The senior living.
You got Lloyd's on the other side.
Yeah.
where's the, what do you idea of the house there?
It's right there.
The strip of land and then that home.
He puts his little trailer right here.
Yes, and then he owns the house next to it.
Yeah, he owns that.
This one?
Yes,
Got
he
it.
owns for
Yeah,
something.
Yeah, he bought it from one of the Lloyd's.
Because I mean, this is all Cherry Hill. I mean, it'd be logical to have some multifamily type something right there, and then this is all manufactured homes. So I think it's logical. Honestly, I'd do R3 there.
Well, if the golf course would give up the driving range, they could still run the golf course.
Yeah, right there behind us.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
can't even
it's
use
fine.
the wood on your driving range now. Cause it's not deep enough, that's what my husband told me.
What are they doing?
Their driving range got cut off enough,
Yeah.
you can't use like your,
Oh,
driver.
right, your true drivers are
you
just
can't use your driver because
They're
it's
just trying to keep the balls out of the detention basin.
too far, so you have to use the other. It's like, well, that's the driving range, that's the only club I can use at all, is the driver. And I'm not.
He can hit over that net that they've got out.
No, I don't, they're just, you
That-
can't
that is
use your
amazing.
driver.
He's a heck of a driver.
You
Nick,
can't
because
use
that's-
your driver, he said, like, it's a rule, like, no.
They're not allowing you.
They're not
Oh, they're not
allowing
allowing
you to
you.
use your driver,
It's not just him.
because there's not enough distance for the length that most people would hit.
I haven't heard any of this.
It just opened a few weeks ago, and he went to go there, and he's like, I can't use my driver on, so I guess I'll just keep going to
I'm
Valley.
gonna check into that.
That's
That
what he
doesn't
told me.
sound, they got plenty of room.
But they got the net, right?
Yes.
And that's real big.
I don't know.
I'm gonna check into that, because,
He went there the other day, and I was like, I'm not going back there.
I haven't heard any of that.
It only opened a few weeks ago, though. Like, driving range.
It's hiding from you that he lost his driver. That's what, he lost his driver and he can't fess up to you.
Is there there's plenty of room up
I
there.
thought that was
That you
me
can use
too.
your driver. I mean, he's not hitting 500 yards.
But I mean, it is shortened from what
What
it
it
used to
was.
be.
That's short done.
From what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that would be my add on my little portion of the map is that, and I mean, we are at the commercial, like, I think if anyone were to redevelop Lloyd's or redevelop Apple Orchard, that's prime for anything of that nature. Especially as it gets closer to the RS12, I'm sure people would want transition of some sort, but I think my side of that has a lot of opportunity. Don't tell my neighbors because they think MF is that word. And they're shitty.
We've always thought that at some point that trailer park would redevelop into something. It's interesting that, you know, trailer parks rent a pad space.
Mhm.
And there was an interesting article that came out on them that those pad spaces are going north of $1,000 a month. And so these are huge money makers all of a
Yep.
sudden.
Oh, they have been for
the guy
years.
that owns that trailer park, he has no interest in getting rid of that.
Because all you have to do is stub, a couple utilities, that's it, you're
Yes.
done, you just collected the check.
They're big money makers.
Especially if you're in city limits.
So while those circumstances remain, I don't think those trailer parks are going anywhere.
No, I agree.
And they're saying that people that live there can't afford it.
Yeah.
They can't afford to live there.
Well, and really, that's the most affordable part of our entire city.
Yes,
Is that,
it
and,
is.
maybe Somerset a little bit, and then the R3s over, where are we, over this way? So,
Well, we're talking about apartments on the north end.
Right.
They're reasonable. That's a real sad situation because those people own the trailers and thought that they were homeowners, but they only owned their well.
Is that same on both sides, both Apple Orchards and Lloyd's, the same story?
Because my sister sold her house, thought she was gonna be able to move her camp trailer, and the theirs is $1,100 a month. And they don't get hardly anything for that.
Yeah, it's just everything is just
Why?
more expensive.
Yep.
So
then
this
what
is
is-
just digesting, right? We're not
What-
making a motion. to
What's the next step then? As city council, I got it, city council, have they
So-
opined on this at
Not
all?
really.
Not really, they know that this is a discussion.
Sure.
Planning commission that's been talked about. I'll go ahead, like Jeff said, I'll go over our engineer, I'll work out the rest of the areas and change alignment on a couple of them. We'll put the acreage together and do a couple of comparisons, we'll bring that back. And then we'll talk about this, and I'll try to set a work session up with the city council.
Real quick, Shelley had a good thought about, tell them, we kind of had a sidebar, but it was the grad students that you said, like,
Yeah, when I was living in Salt Lake, when we were doing a plan in the ballpark, and the grad students came down from the University of Utah School of Urban Planning, and they did kind of a school project of the area, right, on a new, I think that one was the station area plan. Maybe it was, we went through quite a few renditions, but they just came down and worked on a school project to analyze and give recommendations, and they did a great job.
it was free, best of all.
Yeah, they were very happy to do it, so.
And just get another perspective,
I
Our
wonder if
perspective
Neil
plus
was
our
leader of
perspective
this
and see-
similar program.
where we're at.
I think we would have urban.
So it'd probably just be you, I know for sure, as their city planning, urban planning. Anyway, I thought that was kind of cool, that idea, if we could get some free.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Just to
Maybe more
speak to
minds
some of the,
are better.
I think we ought to move methodically on this.
well, because
Because it
then,
will be controversial.
then we'll be able to answer some questions and some of the things you talked about, traffic flow and some of the concerns
These
that I had.
intentional zones.
It'd be nice to have informed answers. I mean, I have some great opinions, but urban planning is not my world necessarily.
They'll send their students out to campus and talk to people and ask what they think.
Oh.
I had one on my board,
Okay,
asking me
beautiful.
questions, right?
I would way rather go do that than us.
It was a good exercise. They
Even
did a
with the
good job.
wolves.
It's great experience for them.
Yeah, it was a really
And
good.
when we
That's
come
cool.
to the point that we do talk to the public, I think, a message we need to make strong is we're doing our best to protect open space, to protect our feeling.
Yeah, the overall look, feel of the city.
Yes.
To remain
But while at the
intact.
same time providing opportunity to the extent possible, which is not highly possible, but for generational kids, our kids growing up, they're gonna need a place to live.
Yeah.
And are they gonna be able to afford anything? Probably not anything, but if we can make it one step better, something. So I think then we're just, we'll kind of touch base again. And then
I'll send out, once I get some of this going, I'll send out an email.
Cool.
Is it posted on Teams, the list of recommendations you had? You said there were some.
This one is, this map.
This one, this map.
Oh,
right
you
here.
said from the, I don't know, was the state, the DADUs and ADUs and creating new zones, was there?
Oh, for what the state required us, what the 10.
Like our report.
Yeah, we have that done, Jeff.
You wanna read what the law says?
Well, just the you were saying there's a list of recommendations.
That's all, well, that's all in the general.
It's in the general plan, and we took
That's all.
the 3 that we could figure we could hit.
Yeah.
If you read the section on affordable housing in the general plan, you'll have a pretty good idea where we're at, or where we were shooting for.
In that section.
So then, real quick, we kind of talked about this, is externally off the docket? Because I know that was something.
I just wanted to throw mine out there about.
I appreciate that, because I had never thought about that, but gotta think that, well, I'd be interested to hear how maybe some other cities have dealt with that, because, you know, we were hearing, I think it's Farmington we decided, right, Farmington.
I think it's Farmington, I will, actually, I need to
It was
talk.
on the news, it was on the news.
I'll say, Kevin, and I've said this before, you guys have heard me say this before. I think it's really wise for a small city to not
Be ahead of the game.
not move ahead of state law, state mandates.
Sure.
The state came out and mandated everybody could have an ADU, all right. But they didn't mandate everybody can have an ADU, an external ADU.
Mhm.
And there are good reasons that they didn't go that far. And I can tell you that there are immense problems in Salt Lake City and Provo where they have dealt with this over a long period of time. Farmington City probably hasn't dealt with a lot of problems regarding these. Whether or not we did, we would, nobody really knows. But when Darren's talking about utilities, this is a statewide thing.
Mhm.
This utility thing is real and nobody wants to, all the governor wants to do is just focus on affordable housing opportunities, but not really get down into whether or not this really will work. I'm gonna side with Darren to say pretty strongly that if we're gonna delve into that, I would walk into that with both eyes wide open and move very slowly. And I just don't think we should, I think we should wait
And see.
and see how this melds together in some of these other communities.
Cause you said you've been seeing some nightmare stuff out of like Provo, Salt Lake. Could you share some, like, even?
I'll tell you a comment,
Salt Lake's backtracking on it entirely.
Okay.
That, and I honestly, this is just hearsay, that, a family put an ADU in their backyard. They didn't really investigate the person that they, were renting it to or whatever they were doing. Their kids were out playing out and the individual was molesting their children. And they did not know that, but they provided that for that individual. And now that's become a big worry.
Sure.
How do you do a background check on enough as an individual to make sure they haven't done that, or if they've never been arrested for it or anything like that? I would look at it myself. I don't know if I'd let my kids go play in the backyard if I didn't know that individual personally, if it wasn't a family member, if I was not home at that time. But that's just one thing that I've heard that's happened and stuff like that, which, once again, I mean, I use the utility issue of it, but because the others are personal, that's my personal opinion, I've never let that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's just one of the things.
I would say this about it too, and I think this is something to consider, just in the grand scheme of things, is that most people, most Americans, the biggest investment they'll make in their life is their home. And I think it would be much more palatable if you build an entire subdivision and you said, all of these homes can have ADUs in the backyard. Anybody that buys a lot and builds a home goes into that knowing what they're getting into. I think you're really pressing on people's rights when you say, you come into an existing subdivision and you bought your home with the expectation of what it was gonna be.
Right, it's the open space.
And now your neighbor has this right to put a house in his backyard and impact you as a neighbor. I've often said that your rights to do what you want with your property do not exceed your neighbor's rights to quiet enjoyment of theirs. And so I think that's something to think of, and let's go use Clark as an example. He's got an ADU in his house. If you choose to do that, if that's what you want to do, the impact should be on you more than your neighbor. It's in your house. You have the bulk of the impact. You've decided that that's what you want to do. Don't stick it in your backyard where your neighbor's got the impact. Put it in your house where you absorb the bulk of that impact. If that's what you want, that's what you can have. So I just think those are things to think about.
From our experience, we've insulated the apartment so it doesn't carry a lot of noise, but if there's a lot going on, we know it. I mean, it's apparent. And so far, we've had really good people comment. I've often thought about, if that was 40 feet back from the house, we would have no clue. The whole party going on.
Well, I think that's part of the thing, is that you're gonna pay better attention to it because it's right there with you.
That's right.
And then the last piece is that, Kevin, no one allows you to have both internal and external. It's either or. And so, as small city, are we gonna get into another huge management situation where we're trying to enforce people, okay, now I'm doing it inside and outside? No one allows both. No one. It's, you have that or you have this, but not both.
Sure.
There's just a lot of things to think about. Just a lot of moving pieces to that. And I'm convinced that probably somewhere down the road, it may be state mandated. Let that happen before we delve into that. We're barely into this internal AD. We don't even know what the impact of that is yet.
Sure.
We just barely started into that.
I think if we can continue to research it though, in case it does come down the pipeline, I don't think, to your point, I think it's nice to be able to watch the bigger cities deal with it first. But if you guys can continue to kind of report on what
We will.
down the pipeline.
This is a topic at every planning conference.
Right.
Everybody is dealing with these things, and there is a lot more negativity towards the external ADU
Then the internal.
than there is the internal. The internal is more kind of just hidden.
Sure.
Well, it's not the same impact visually or
Right.
utilities and you still need to read them.
Sure.
Honestly, if you stuck a home in every backyard in this city, we'd never be able to do it utility wise.
Right.
Every single home has a 4-inch sewer line plugged into it. You can't tap another sewer into that 4, it won't work. So that's a brand new line into the street.
So if someone built over their garage, would that be internal?
That's allowed.
Okay.
The legislature passed that last year.
If
You
it's
can
not-
turn
If
the
it's
space
On the
on
wall.
above your garage into that's considered an internal ADU. If the garage shares a common wall with the house.
If it is not shared, it becomes external.
Yes.
If, that's something where if the garage is not far off from the home, if it's within a reasonable distance, that's maybe the limited application.
So if you wanted to personally embark down this road and have people that aren't right on top of you, but still close enough, build an attached garage, attach to your house and put it above the garage. That's allowed now.
Sure. Okay, no, food for thought, but mostly just continued conversation. If you guys can continue to bring us the data you're saying.
Every single person that's come in here and says, I want this, they're already doing it illegally.
I know.
Every one of them.
I experience who they are.
I know people are not illegally right now.
Well, even if we told you, you wouldn't go and do it, I guess you could leave their home.
So the other thing about that, and I know this has happened, is our setbacks for sheds are not the same for residents. And so when people do these and they build something as a shed or a garage, and then they split them into
All right, a tiny home.
a tiny home, and the setbacks of the neighbors back to the rights of the neighbors, and suddenly have somebody living right next to the.
Sure. Next door to their chickens.
Yes.
And the gold
And the
bag.
gold.
Oh, yeah, no.
All right, sorry, I got us sidetracked, but yeah, that
I think that's a discussion to have.
It's interesting.
it is,
It's
and I, to your point, I think we'll probably have our hands maybe forced at some point to have the conversation in more depth, but as you're hearing stuff, pass it on to us, email or whatever, that'd be great. Okay, I think that's it, right? Anything else? Did you guys have anything else, staff?
And motion to adjourn.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you, everybody. So next month, the 22nd.
22nd.
Okay, I will